Hello, friends. Just to Serve TV live now on the air. Michael Bryant here. Linda Kenny Baden in Harvard on assignment there. So, two things we're going to chat about today with a very special guest. We are going to talk about what is happening in the Karen Read case, what is not happening in the Karen Read case, what is happening in Uvalde. And I'm telling you right now, even as I speak, there's a big kerfuffle in the courtroom. We're going to talk about that and much more. Stay where you are.
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we know
Happy Day."
justice when we see it? To be and down, will I lead the way? Hoping justice will win the day. Missionary clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
All right, good to have you along. I'm so tempted to jump right into this Uvalde case. This, of course, is the school shooting case taking place in Corpus Christi, Texas, moved about 200 miles east of the site of the shooting. Change of venue granted in that case. What's going on right now is a alleged Brady violation by the prosecution. They're going to have it sorted out, I'm sure, any moment now. It's an hour earlier there than it is here, so it's 5 o'clock. They've got the jury, cooling their heels. Let me give you just the basics. We're going to jump into this case and talk about some of the very important opening statements today, also some of the first two witnesses. The first teacher on the stand testified today that there was a shooter. She identified the shooter at a very important time in this process. Remember, the defendant, Adrian Gonzalez, is one of, if not the first cop on the scene. Yeah, that's why this case is what it is. It's not just another school shooting case, which unfortunately has become less than unique. This is about holding cops responsible for not acting. So this witness on the stand now, the teacher who first saw the shooter, identified him in a much greater way at a greater location than she had ever in the past. And she said, "Oh, I told the DA about it." Oh, wait a minute. She's telling the DA, she's telling the defense that she's already told the DA this, but the DA never relayed that information to the defense. And it's critical as to how it relates to where their client, Adrian Gonzalez, the cop, was at the time people were encountering this shooter. Because how do you, how are you responsible for failure to act if you don't know the things that are happening in front of you? And if nobody saw this shooter at the time and location, she is now saying in trial that she never told anybody else, and the defense couldn't plan on it. Let's just say it's Brady material. To what end? Don't know. It is literally going on right now. We're going to get back into that. First. Okay, just a couple of things. Karen Read, we expected we would have, I only half-ass expected that we were going to have a hearing today that was pushed from last month to today. Discovery issues back and forth. This is in the civil wrongful death case being brought by the O'Keefe family against Karen Read and the bars. But they agreed jointly to push it. It's now going to be February 3rd. And as I said, welcome to civil litigation. It's this kind, let alone a case in which you've got perhaps 18 or 20 attorneys. All civil litigation, especially in the discovery phase, it's a tug of war. And as often as they can avoid getting the court involved, the better off everybody is. It's personalities, it's strategic issues, it's style. All of these things, they just need to be worked out. And sometimes you need the court, sometimes you don't. So they pushed that off to February. We'll see if that's even needed. That gives everybody another month to kind of try and, play together nicely and get done what they need to get done. And we know a lot of it has to do with third-party records, which may not be able to be resolved without getting that third party, Mr. Proctor, involved. Also, Sean Good's materials are being sought. So anyway, that's off. And so it's moving forward at the normal snail's pace that it normally will. And the hearing today was going to be on Zoom. It is going to be virtual again on February 3rd. We will do what we were going to do today, which is stream it if it happens and then chat about it in the evening. So one other thing, this is sort of related. It's an Aidan Carney update. I reached out to the court today to find out if they had put in the system the redacted SIR reply filed by Mark Betterow. As you know, this is the case involving all the witness intimidation charges against Aidan Carney, scheduled now for the 23rd of this month, 2 weeks from Friday. And the question, and it's going to be, remember, it's been brought under the auspices of Judge Z, I'm calling him, and it's going to be up in Boston, in Suffolk County, in the big city there, not in Dedham. So there have been reply brief. There was a brief, response, reply. Now a SIR reply by Mark Betterow. He had filed a redacted version with the court and an unredacted version with exhibits. And he's asked the court to impound the full-blown version, saying, hey, I've got the redacted version for public consumption. My plan was tomorrow to do a members only at 2 o'clock with that document, go over it, and then spin it out over the weekend for the rest of the public. But clerk tells me that the judge just got it yesterday, probably maybe kind of not available tomorrow by the time I need it. So I've got a backup plan. Don't worry about it. We are going to do a 2 o'clock tomorrow, members only. It will be connected to that case. It just may not be this brand new document that Mark Betterow has filed. And I'm trying to have him come back on next week in advance of the hearing so we can kind of get into that stuff as well. Okay. One last thing before I bring on my special guest. Donna Adelson, we know she's been transferred. She's now in the Homestead Correctional Institute. Of course, Donna Adelson convicted in the death of Dan Markell, her son-in-law, ostensibly to make sure that she could have her daughter Wendy and the kids near her in South Florida. She's now in South Florida. Yeah, Homestead Correctional Institute is in South Florida. And I'm working on getting a number of materials, both from where she's now living and the transport from the interim, transition facility. So we may have some of that stuff for you coming up not too distant future. All right, that's all I got. Now, two things we want to talk about today. And to do that, I want to bring on my friend, my colleague, generally good person, and very exciting to have Terri Austin here. Terri, how are you?
Doing really well. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We run into one another down at court there occasionally. You become a courtroom rat. And
Yes.
I mean that in a good way. And so I've been threatening to get you on, and now I've come through with my threat, and I appreciate it. So what have you been working on? Look, before we get into the stuff we're going to get into, Uvalde and this Ohio couple that tragically shot I think it was on the 30th of December. What have you been working on? What are the stories?
Well, I mean, this story I am following closely. I am following the Ohio case closely. Obviously, Luigi Mangione closely. I've been to every single hearing of his, and I do plan to continue looking at that case. And I'm actually working on a documentary, not about any of these issues.
Oh,
That's taking up some time as well. I basically look at the bigger cases, and so probably Luigi Mangione will be the next one that I continue to follow very, very closely.
all right. And that's where we last saw one another, was when he made his final appearance. That was the shortest day in court, where basically everybody got seated and they said, okay, we're done. We're done, Your Honor.
Well,
And,
that was because all the other days were extremely long.
yes. Yeah. And for those who don't remember, this was a suppression hearing, plural, hearings, because there was so much stuff and so many witnesses and so much. The most evidence I've seen in a suppression hearing. I mean, it was pretty drawn out, but interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
And there's no decision yet. The decision is due soon, right?
It's due in May. So
Oh,
they
God.
are submitting.
I thought something was happening this month or next month in that.
Well,
no?
they are having a hearing on Friday, but right now there is a timeline where both sides are supposed to submit papers, and the judge has stated
Okay.
that he will make a decision in May. So this is just another hearing. I'm assuming that perhaps they might be putting off some of the dates or extending some of the dates, but yes, there is another hearing. It's also federal court, whereas the other hearing was, the suppression hearing was state court. So we'll see what's going on the federal
as
side.
folks may know, there are state and federal charges paralleling one another, not to mention the state of Pennsylvania charges, which are on their own there. And most people might recall in a suppression hearing, there's kind of a summary argument at the end. And in this case, the court has said, brief it, do basically written arguments that might normally be done in court live. But he said, no, give me the briefs.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So it could be a little more complicated. And there's a lot that they're trying to get out. Virtually everything that ever happened at the McDonald's, right? Pretty much.
That's exactly right. They're saying that none of the statements he made should be entered because he wasn't properly given his Miranda rights. They're saying none of the evidence should be introduced because basically they didn't have a warrant. And so they're trying to basically get everything out. And if that's the case, there's nothing.
Obviously, zealous representation. That's what they should be doing. And then they also don't want to get in the statements he made while back at the police station, the Altoona police station, because they had cameras rolling and it's a two-party state and they didn't get his approval to record him.
Yes.
And I think that's a winner. I think that on its face is a winner.
I do too. He didn't say much though, but that's correct. Yeah.
It makes the Altoona cops look bad.
Absolutely.
Like they never even considered it.
They didn't even know. I mean, no one considered it. Yes.
Okay. So where should we go first? Do you want to go to Ohio? Do you want to go? Let's go to Uvalde because as I mentioned coming in, I'm looking at it over on one of my monitors, translation, my phone. I'm looking at it over here that, they're still at the bench with the court because an issue came up during the testimony of this final witness for the day, the teacher who first saw the shooter. We think that's what the big issue is. So as a primer for what's going on here, of course, this is the case in which 19 students, 9 and 10-year-olds in the school, the Robb School in Uvalde, were shot and killed. It was 3 years ago now. 2 teachers also died. A number of others were injured and being tried for the first time in Texas history. And I haven't done enough to see if it's ever happened in the U.S. I think of the Ethan Crumley case where the parents were held responsible for the shooting by the son. So you have that third party. In this case, you've got a third party, but somebody there with a duty to protect, right?
That's right.
So that's what makes this unique. He is the first of 2 officers that is going to be facing trial. 29 charges of child endangering, which if you lump it all together is as much as I've done the math on this, 58 years.
That's the math I got.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Well.
Okay. That would be, that's the headline. That's dripping wet, top charge, full sentence because it's a 6 months to 2 year sentence. And weirdly, they do it there, even if it's beyond a year in jail, not in prison. So
everything counts.
Yeah. That's a little unusual. So what I thought we would do, first of all, give me your thoughts on the case, just in general, the uniqueness. It's a tough case for anybody. It's a school shooting case.
It is a very tough case, and these were young children. So anytime you have a school shooting, it's very difficult. And when they're this young, it's even more difficult. There was something similar. Scott Peterson, I don't think he was a police officer. That was in the Parkland shooting. He was, I think, acquitted, and I think he was a security officer or something. So it's that case, and you already mentioned the Crumley case, but it is a very unusual circumstance where you have a third party who is held responsible, and here you have police officers who have a duty to protect, but the question is whether or not they fulfill that duty, whether or not they followed all of the guidelines that they're supposed to do under these certain circumstances. Were they trained, and particularly did Gonzalez do what he was supposed to do? And there's another police officer, he's actually the police chief, Arredondo, and he's coming up later. So the question for both of them is, did they do what they were supposed to do under the circumstances here and as they were trained? As I'm listening to it today, listening to the opening statements, the initial witnesses, I actually see arguments on both sides, but for the first time, I do think the defense is putting up a good argument. You see everything out in the press and what's in the public, making it very difficult to have a jury who is not biased. And all of that was saying, look, this guy just stood there and did nothing. But I actually took a screenshot of what the defense argued he actually did do. And when you look at that, it's interesting because he did do things. What we saw in the public was him standing there. But when he was standing there behind this wall, he really wasn't near. He really couldn't hear, at least according to the defense. And what the defense said is he took the call. He drove the suspect into the storm. He drove where the suspect was. He gathered info. He went into the building. He was one of the first to go into the building. He called SWAT. He stood the perimeter. I think that's the video that we keep seeing when he's standing out there. He tried to find out if the class was in session. He evacuated some of the children. He checked on Ruiz, who had, been shot at that point. He got building plans. He secured the master key. So he listed all the things he did do. He wasn't just standing there the whole time. And when you look at it from that perspective, and if he did the things he was supposed to do as a trained officer, then I think, you have to look at it from a different perspective. And the last thing I'll say about my overall impression is he really, if you listen to what the defense says, isn't the monster. And the defense opened up talking about the monster and that you can't just try to get justice as it relates to anybody, as when there's a monster involved. So they tried to separate the feelings from the law and from the facts. So we'll see if the jury can actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, they know the soft spot in their case, the defense, and that is sympathy. That people are just going to want to find, okay, the shooter's not here, the monster, somebody's got to pay. And that courtroom, which looks pretty small when they show the gallery, is all parents. I mean, you can just tell, right?
Yes, absolutely. It is all parents. And
they're hanging on every word that relates to what happened that day because they're still living it, 3 years later. And this just brings it back all raw. And they ran, and we may run a piece of this, the 911 call, which they used through the first witness. Not a dry eye in the house, including the witness. They had an interesting little snafu there. I think Court TV is pooling this. I'm not 100% sure, but obviously there are a number of witnesses who don't want to be seen.
Yes.
So you get a lot of this shot, a lot of the chest shot, or they'll show the defendant a lot.
Yes.
And when this first witness came on the stand, it was like they just showed him normal. And then all of a sudden they didn't.
That's right.
So it was very clear that somebody was like, hey. And then the witness on the stand most recently was the teacher who was first in contact with Mr. Gonzalez, the defendant. She from the start was not shown. There was a cop in between that was. But this guy, the first witness, was great first witness, I thought. He was a priest or a religious man. I'm not sure if he was a Catholic or not, but he was a pastor.
Right. He was a pastor and he ran a funeral home.
Yeah, and the funeral home is right adjacent to the school. So he's there front and center. He can see it all unfold. He's the guy that calls 911. Let me try and do this. And this is, I'm alibying for myself already. I had up what was going to be, basically the trial feed. And if you try to locate on that feed a certain moment in time, but the feed is still live, that moment in time is no longer the same moment in time. So you cannot log it. And now that they're done, and I just noticed that they have released the jury for the day. And I don't think the issue, let me backtrack and talk about the issue that I teased at the top. I don't think they got the jury back in there except to release them. There was a moment in which the witness, this teacher, says she saw the gunman dressed all in black, holding a gun, and doing it in an area that was near the defendant, Adrian Gonzalez. And for the first time, the defense is hearing that from this witness. And so they had a whole Brady, hold on there, folks. Jury gets sent out. And the issue was, did the defense get the information from the prosecution that this witness has now just told this jury? And if they did have that information and didn't pass it along, Brady violation. And then, so what do you get to see? Trial within a trial. We see the lead prosecutor questioning his co-counsel at their defense, at the prosecution's table, didn't even have her take the stand. And she was like, why she doesn't remember that well. She even went as far, I can't believe she said this. If I had time to have pulled it out, I would have, because I won't do it justice. She's being asked by the defense attorney, and his name is, I'm trying to remember all the names here as they become new and improved to us, Jason Goss. He's asking her, and her name is, dang it, Bill Turner is the prosecutor.
Christina Mitchell?
That's it, Miss Mitchell. So he's asking her various questions about when she learned this information that should have been turned over. And she says, you'll know this legal argument. She says, you're getting very nitpicky. I was running a law office. I had all of these, and I'm like, oh my God, that is a brutal explanation for whether you did or didn't learn something and whether you did or didn't pass it along. So
Yes. I was not impressed by her in general, I will say. She's the Uvalde County DA.
yeah,
And, she made an objection when the defense was doing their opening statement. It was Nico LaHood. They had two people
it
doing
was interesting process they did with the tag team on the open by the defense. Yeah,
correct. I thought that was interesting and effective. I think LaHood is very animated and an attractive young man, animated. I think he.
and see, you can say that. If I say anything like that, I get
man.
that. So,
Well, I think no matter. I mean, it does play a role. I mean, look at
there's no doubt about it.
Look at Luigi Mangione. I mean,
Yep.
honestly, he is to some of his supporters a hero, but also, when we go to those hearings, there are a lot of young women who are there, and his looks have definitely played a role. And I think that does, apply in other instances. And this attorney LaHood is very animated and as I said, he's attractive. I think he's relating to that jury. Jason Gross is I guess an attractive person as well, but he's he's a little bit
To each his own, I guess. Yeah,
each
he's
his own.
like an older white guy. He's like
exactly.
that's
Now,
what he
see,
is.
you can say that.
I can say that. You
Together,
can,
we can say
go
it.
ahead. You can say that.
Yeah.
So
But
you said LaHood, is that his name?
yes, I think it's Nico.
Like French?
I think he has a little Hispanic accent.
He's very Hispanic. It sounds like to me, which is very important in this area. There's a lot
It's
of
Nico LaHood.
Okay, LaHood. Interesting.
But I believe that he is Spanish, but I haven't heard him speak. I haven't looked at his background. But what I was going to say is that while he was doing that tag team second part of the defense opening, Christina Mitchell stood up and objected to some of what he was saying. And, as you know, when you do an opening, you're just saying the evidence will show. And he was talking about some of the reports that came out and how many of the reports by, the FBI, the police, et cetera, those reports show that really the school was at fault and they point the finger at other places. And she stood up and she spoke a very long objection. She basically gave her opinion about how these reports aren't getting into evidence and they don't mean anything. And the judge allowed her to do that. But ultimately, the judge said overruled, and he, instructed the jury, as I told you before, when the opening statements are made or the closing arguments, that's not evidence. You just look at the evidence that's, introduced. You come to your own conclusion based on your interpretation of the evidence and what I give you as the law. So I thought that was an objection that she knew was going to be overruled. It was unnecessary. And it showed that, in my opinion, she was just trying to interrupt Nico. And I think she was interrupting Nico LaHood because he was connecting with that jury.
Mhm.
I think that's why she did it.
Sure.
And it slowed his pace down a little bit.
But she comes off looking bad, to the jury.
Absolutely. She looked bad there. And then, to your point, when she was saying things like, nitpicky. Well, yeah, that's very important. If there's
kind of what you do. Luckily, the jury didn't get to see her perform that little maneuver. I have been surprised. The judge has kind of a loose way of doing some of this, and I think causes some problems. For example, again, this teacher was on the stand toward the end of the day, and they were trying to impeach her with the statement she had made to the police. That's what led to their learning, they think, that she told the cops or the DA something that was not related to the defense. But instead of refreshing her recollection by saying, here, can you read lines 4 and 5 to yourself? This is from your statement. And then boom, 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 moving along. They took a 10-minute break so she could read the whole statement to herself and then be asked about that statement. That's just bad.
It is.
It's so annoying for the jury.
Yeah.
And I was surprised the judge allowed that.
Yeah.
He should have made them, look, if you have a specific reference that you want to have her focus on, do that. Then we'll get this thing moving. And because that happens all the time. Here,
Absolutely.
Take a look at this, read it to yourself, and then you go forward about it.
Right.
But
Does that refresh your recollection? And then ask the
yeah, and it
question.
either does or doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't want to just throw him under the bus because this guy Sid Harrell, that's the judge's
The
name.
judge.
He's a big time judge. I mean,
Yeah.
he's the head of 22 different counties there in Texas. And again, this was a change of venue, so the players moved basically to Corpus Christi so they could have a bigger jury pool. They got a jury in one day.
Yeah, that was pretty
So,
fast, I thought.
I thought so too, because I guarantee you they've all heard about this case.
Yes.
You know, so let me ask you this, because I think the first thing that they talked about in opening was to acknowledge that sympathy is going to be a big hurdle for the defense. I get that. They also have to, reinforce for the jury how long it was before anybody acted. And, this was a group of 370 law enforcement agencies and people and agencies before the Border Patrol actually is the one that busted down the door and did something, ended the shooter's life. But if on a spectrum, you see that he does, quote, nothing for 10 minutes. Okay. He does nothing for at some point on that spectrum, I think people are going to go, that's way too damn long.
Right.
I just don't know what that is at this point.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, based on what I've heard so far as the timeline is concerned, what the defense is trying to say is, look, Gonzalez went in as soon as he could go in, as soon as he was given instructions to go in. And there were all these other people, and he literally was one of the first. I think he said that Adrian Gonzalez and Paige, I don't remember Paige's first name, were two of the first officers to go in. And ultimately, he was asked to go back out because the phone wasn't working. And that's another problem. The door was open, the phones didn't work, he didn't have protective gear, yada, yada, yada. But one of the things that the defense is trying to say is, okay, so Gonzalez should have gone in earlier, but what about other people as well? Why aren't all these other people being held accountable for these deaths? He's not, sure of exactly where the shooter is. Melanie, who tripped and fell, told him the shooter's over here when really the shooter had already gone in the back door. So, he's doing things to try to inform the base what is going on. And, the prosecution is saying there was no confusion, but the defense is saying there was a lot of confusion. And what Adrian Gonzalez was doing at the time was trying to figure out, where is this guy? And apparently, I can't wait to see Melanie on the stand. If you listen to what the defense is saying, she was wrong about a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. They said everything, every single thing.
Exactly.
She's wrong.
Yes.
That brings me to this point too. Very delicate cross-examination with these different people because they've been through this trauma. You can't just pound on them. You have to be so clever and so subtle so that it looks like you're caring for them while getting from them what you need to help your client. Man, that's dicey.
It is dicey, but I think they're doing a good job so far. I think they did that with the opening. I think they're handling the witnesses well. I think they explained to the jury during the voir dire and during the opening, look, this was a horrible thing that happened. You're going to cry. We saw Bill, the prosecutor, cry, and the witnesses are going to cry. And you saw that first witness on the stand, who was the pastor and the owner of the Lamonas, I think is his name, and the owner of the, or at least he worked at the funeral parlor. He cried incessantly. And, even after they took the camera off of his face, and they played the 911 call, you could hear him crying and sniffling and using the handkerchief. You saw his hand pick up the handkerchief. And I think that those are some of the feelings and emotions the defense is going to have to work through. And based on what I've seen so far, I think they are doing a decent job about that. They haven't attacked anyone. They just are trying to get to the truth. And, they said that to the jury, and I think they laid that foundation for the jury, which will make it a little bit easier when, in fact, they do have to go a little harder. The reason they're doing it is because they want justice for, their client as well.
Yeah, I mean, they just can't come off as, beating up victims or those that have been so impacted by this that they are effectively, victims.
Exactly.
I was moving forward on the video. Wasn't trying to ignore you. I was moving forward on the video to see if I could find the spot. And I just happened to stop on the spot where the witness you're talking about is actually on camera. I'm not going to show that. But it's a good point for me to kind of use as a reference point. I really would like to find just part of the 911 call because it's not just his emotion, but what you hear on that call is, it's frightening.
It is.
And so bear with me just a moment. I think it's worth just a little taste of this.
Yeah, I think your viewers will appreciate that because you get the same emotion as that room was getting when it was played.
Yeah. And again, most of those folks in the shot that they've shown, I will mention they have very comfortable looking chairs. You know, we're so used to some of these older courtrooms, like in downtown Manhattan, the
Correct.
old hard pews, right? They have nice, it looks like they're nice, comfortable seats.
I actually noticed that as well. I mean,
it's funny. We spent enough time there. We're going, those look like comfortable seats.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Let me bring this up. This it's going to be a bit of a crapshoot. Bear with my tech skills here. And the fact that since they've just signed off, the feed itself is now, how should I say this, solidified. So now you can go in and find what you're looking for by time code, but don't have that. So there we have the, you know, the shot that everyone's going to get used to for a lot of these different witnesses, right? Let me see what we've got here. It's almost, I play a little something occasionally, Terry, called True Crime Roulette, where I just kind of scan through and then we stop. And whatever's happening is happening.
Across the fence. And we threw the duffel bag across the fence. He then jumped the fence. He didn't walk. I mean, he didn't run towards the school. He basically walked completely, very nonchalantly, like no rush, no nothing.
Well, I'm trying to find that spot.
As
To
soon
do
as he was
this.
walking,
You know,
as he
people
was-
may not remember that he was called to the scene as it was a car crash, auto accident, because the perpetrator's truck was run through the fence to basically give him. It wasn't like he really needed to do that. I'm not quite sure what the motivation was, but it put him on the property.
Well, you mean the motivation of
to
shooter?
drive through the fence
Well-
rather than just drive onto the the school parking lot.
Well, I'll tell you why. You know, if you recall, prior to all of this, he got into an argument with his grandmother.
Right, and he killed her. Yes.
He shot her in the face. She survived.
Oh, she did.
She did.
Oh,
Even though
that's-
he shot her in the face, she ran across the street to a neighbor and they helicoptered her out and she survived.
That's
But
amazing.
yes, it is amazing. But then, you know, we saw the shooter jump into, well, we didn't see it, but he jumped into her car and we saw the car in the ditch. He doesn't know how to drive. He doesn't have a license. And so he's just driving towards the school and he's not texting, but he's going online and he's saying, I'm going to shoot up a school. And he drives and it's a difficult turn. And that's how he gets in the ditch. And the ditch happened to be right in front of Hillcrest Memorial, which is the funeral home. And so we see Gilbert Lemonis coming out trying to help him. And we don't actually see that on video, but that was his testimony. And when he came out to help him, he's approaching the truck that the shooter was in. And someone yells, and to my knowledge, that someone was never identified. If it was, I missed it, but someone yells, he's got a gun. And Lemonis says he saw a stick or what he thought was like a black stick in his hand, but he realized as he pulled it up and started, you know, to aim towards him, that it was a gun. And so he turned and ran back to the funeral home, and then shots were being fired. And he said they were whizzing by him. But that's how the truck ended up in the ditch. And then the, I guess the shooter starts running towards the school, throws his duffel bag over the fence and then climbs the fence. And that's how he gets in the parking lot. He's hiding behind cars. And ultimately he gets, you know, to the school. He goes into that door that's open that the defense is claiming should have been closed. And based on some of the reports, should have been closed as well.
Yeah. And apparently they even within the school knew that they kept them open. It was for convenience. They had magnets that would allow them to kind of beat the lock mechanism. And he just testified about that duffel bag. Let's see if I've gotten near the 911.
They just got, oh my God, they just got shot at us. They shot at you? Yeah. The guy is not at school because I've been sitting in the back. He's having a TNT at the school. Hurry, please. He's in the bed. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's jumping into the schoolyard. He's jumping into the schoolyard, man. Are you in the schoolyard? Yes, he just jumped up on the fence. He's running towards the school. Oh my God. He's wearing black. He's like a young kid. Okay, we do have multiple officers saying out that way. You said he's wearing black? No, yes, he's walking. He's walking across to the lobby here right from the funeral home. We're calling at the funeral home. Oh my gosh. Okay, there's one officers that are heading out that way. What do you mean? There's kids out there. There's kids out there, please. Oh, he's shooting at a truck and going by. How are we? Yes, sir. We have multiple units heading out that way. Oh my God, these kids. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Oh my God. Father, please, in the name of Jesus. Oh my God. Lord, please. Oh God, in the name of Jesus. Father, I'm asking you to please. He's going to the school. They got to hurry. Is there hurry on the Oh my God, there's a kid about to shoot. Oh my God, he's shooting at people. Maybe oh Jesus, hallelujah. Oh, in the name of Jesus, I just ask like I can't believe it. Oh, in the name of Jesus. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Oh my goodness, he shot at us. Oh my God. They're shooting. The Uvalde school is out there. Okay, so the officers there, I'm going to disconnect with you, okay? Okay. Sorry. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this
Disturbing.
is
Very, very disturbing. And I think those sniffles that we heard were the witness because he's right by the microphone. I'm certain
Mhm.
that some in the audience and probably some of those jurors were also sniffling. And, we mentioned this, I believe, but, the prosecutor, when he was doing his opening statement, Bill, he could not get through it actually without getting choked up. And,
yeah.
I know it's very human reaction. At some point, though, I did think about, and he couldn't help it, and he did try to straighten up, but you have to wonder whether or not the defense, and I doubt they do this because it doesn't seem like the parties are that adversarial to each other. And in fact, we heard the defendant's counsel say at one point, Bill got upset, and it's
Yeah.
most,
I
but
noticed that. Yeah.
what I was going to say though is there's in the back of my mind, I'm wondering if at some point you wouldn't do it in front of the jury. You make a motion, does that adversely affect the defense's case when you have the attorney
Yeah.
crying? And to what extent would the judge listen to that and give some relief as far as that's concerned, even if it's just an instruction? But I do think it was Nico LaHood who said it and dealt with it. And so maybe there's nothing else to do, but you have to be really careful when you're giving an opening statement. You really, you're a human, you're compassionate, but he was choked up a good part of the time. He had to really pull himself back.
Yeah, I was surprised because I hadn't heard him. I'd heard him in the pretrial motions, but I hadn't heard him, in front of a jury. And I'd watched closely and listened closely to is that his affect? Is that, and then you could tell this guy was. I'm sure it's genuine.
Yes.
But I got to be honest. I think it's inappropriate.
Yes.
And it puts the defense in a weird position because objection, Your Honor.
Exactly.
Prosecution's crying. I mean, you know,
Yes.
you can't do that.
No, you can't. And I think that's why LaHood handled it extremely well, because he came back and he said, you know, it's a very disturbing case. You're going to walk out here as a different human being, as a different person, because it's going to affect you. I guarantee you. As you saw, it affected Bill. And I think calling him Bill was also effective. It's a way of saying, look, I sympathize with you all and with the prosecution, and we all, you know, want this to be, you know, something that is resolved and closed in everybody's mind. But this is not the person that you should victimize here, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that was such an important point that he made. I do think it's an interesting maneuver to call the opposing counsel by their first name. I don't think that's appropriate either, but
Yeah.
if you can get away with it, I think it says we're all buds here outside of this crazy environment. You know, so,
Yeah.
you know,
My-
don't hold against me what he does and vice versa. But I just don't see that very often.
Yeah, I don't see it very often either, but I think that from the very beginning, and voir dire was not, I think it wasn't, they didn't show that. They didn't
No.
televise that.
No.
But I think they probably agreed to that from the very beginning. Although I haven't seen Bill call, you know,
Nico.
Yeah.
Nico?
Well, I don't think I have.
I don't think I have either. Or Ms.
Yeah.
Mitchell. What's her first name?
Her first name is Christina.
Christina.
It's Christina Mitchell and Bill Turner, and then it's Jason Gross and Nico LaHood.
I thought his name was Goss. There's an R in
Is
there.
it Goss?
I think it's a Goss. I'm you know, most people who know me over the years, these are my brains right here. I keep them on this card. So I'm gonna note mine for Ms. Mitchell.
Yeah.
Christine. Is it Christine or Christina?
I think it's Christina.
Okay.
And
Mitchell. Yeah, man, she was on the hot seat.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, and you know, we love Kyle Sharkey here because he's you know, getting into these documents all the time. I mentioned before we started my plan to do this members only tomorrow with the SIR reply that Mark Betterow had filed in the Aiden Carney case, but the court said it hasn't been released yet. Well, guess what? While we've been sitting here, they released it, and Kyle grabbed it, and so I will have that tomorrow for our members only. But in the meantime, he's also given me a time code for the here. Let's see. Give him a little pub here. There it is. That's what I'm looking for now. So I'm going to find that spot, and again, I'm assuming, you know, time. See, that's the issue when you go from a real-time code like I have, which is
Right.
to the recorded time code. It's not as helpful as it may seem. So I think I can find a chunk of it here where it's the world of the bizarre. You have the judge swearing in the prosecutor, you know, Ms. Mitchell,
Yeah.
to testify about this collateral issue.
The last thing that any attorney on any case, whether it's a prosecutor or defense, wants to have to do.
No, I mean, it's never good. I remember the last time in the Alec Baldwin case. Remember that case?
Yes.
In the Rust shooting case, and next thing you know, it's case dismissed.
Right.
So-
And it happened in Young Thug as well, as I recall.
Yeah.
There
Yep,
was
you're right.
some Brady issues.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if she got on the stand, but she was certainly the subject. She did get on the stand, I think.
I think she did too.
Mhm.
Melissa, Florida 407. Thank you so much. I know I've seen you lurking and in the chat, and I appreciate you becoming a member. So tune in tomorrow at 2:00. We're going to have a review of the SIR reply. I can't wait to see the redactions. Linda and I once did a show where we filled in the blanks like Mad Libs for those redacted documents. Got a little carried away. Got a little weird. Okay, so let me see what we can do here with this little chunk and see if I've gotten it. I think I've got it close here. As you can see, the judge is about to swear somebody in. Bizarre. We're in the land of the bizarre here. And again, it is outside the presence of the jury.
I'm sure the evidence and the testimony given in the cause will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Mr. Turner, we can just do it from council table if nobody objects. Go ahead.
Thank you. Were you there and conducted an interview with Stephanie Head?
Yes, for trial preparation.
And did you take notes as a part of that?
Yes.
Do you have any notes as to Ms. Hale telling the prosecution where the man in black was?
No, she told us there was a man in black. She looked, she saw a man in black with a long rifle. But she didn't tell us that he was specifically at that location at the south end on the sidewalk. She did say.
Thank you. And I'd also call Mr. Garza, Your Honor. Oh, I'm sorry, pass the witness.
Yeah, but clarify for me, what was in the grand jury testimony that you did disclose?
That there's dirt flying up.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Question?
Ms. Mitchell, the notes that you're referring to, on what date was that interview done?
I have to go back to my calendar. It was sometime in December.
Of
It was right before Christmas.
2025?
Yes.
Were you the only prosecutor present at that interview?
No, it was me, Mr. Garza, and Mr. Turner.
All right. And you were conducting the interview?
No, Mr. Turner was.
And in that interview, the witness that we're referring to told you she saw a man dressed in black with long hair and a long rifle.
Right.
All right. And you noted that she had never said that before at the time that she said that.
I didn't note that.
Well,
We're prepping her, so I can't say that I specifically noted that.
but I mean, you in just the preparation, you would have noted that a fact like that an additional person seeing the shooter at the time before the shooter entered the building outside, you would have noted that as a significant fact. You would agree with that?
I would say that he was seen by several people. So one other witness saying they saw him, such as Ms. Flores, or, was part of that.
All right, but I guess what I'm saying is that whether or not he was seen, you understand and know that not only is location important, but time is important. Where the shooter is at a certain time, you note that is an important detail.
That is an important detail, but I wouldn't say that I was, at the time, had dissected the time frame with her to the point that it was so significant that it stood out to me.
Well, and I guess that you'd also understand that different witnesses at different points in time, viewing a shooter in different locations, all of those things are important details as to know not just where the person was, but when in time the person was. And different witnesses will provide different times, right?
Right.
You understand that as a concept.
Right, I understand that.
And I'm not talking down to you, I'm just trying to make sure that, I know you understand it. I just want to make sure that it's clear on the record. And so, because this focus on whether or not she talked about the location, if that's the first time that she ever said location, and it just happened to be the location in trial that is where our client was, and now she's put the shooter on the south side of the building on the sidewalk, looking like he's going into the building on the south side in trial today. Are you saying she never said that to you before in your notes?
Check out those boots on counsel.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to get to the nitpicky reference. Maybe
No,
it's
I
here.
want to see it.
I know. The judge is like, what in the hell is going on here?
Yes.
Check those notes.
She's under fire right here.
Oh my gosh. There's a lot of sweat. You can tell.
Yes, definitely. She's hesitating.
And every second feels like an hour.
Exactly.
And you're asking me two different questions, like seeing him there versus seeing him specifically on the sidewalk. The term "the sidewalk" today caught me off guard because I had never heard that before.
Had you ever heard her say that she had seen him either going into the south side of the building or approaching the south door?
No.
Did she ever tell you that he was on the south side of the building?
No.
So nothing in your notes. Now,
No.
okay, so here's my question. At a time when you're talking to a witness and for the first time they're telling you that they saw the shooter, neither prosecutor or anyone in the room thought to ask her, where did you see the shooter? That wasn't a question that came up in anybody's mind to ask her where the shooter was?
You know, you're getting very nitpicky. Let me tell you something. When we were prepping these witnesses, I was running a law office, and so I was in and out of interviews. So I can't say that she said that and I like, oh my God. You know, it wasn't that type of reaction for me. So that's the best I can say.
I guess I know.
All right. I got to put her out of her misery. I'm sorry. That
Yes.
is just brutal.
It is brutal.
The very end of her answer was fine. I just can't remember at this point. That's okay. You know,
Right.
it looks only slightly incompetent.
Yeah.
But to say, it's nitpicky. I'm working on a lot of files. Oh, so you're doing a half-assed job on a lot of different cases. All right.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks very bad. I mean, and the defense has a right to have any and all evidence that could, you know, possibly be exculpatory. And certainly when you're talking about where the shooter was, where his client is, and in proximity to each other, I mean, that could help as far as the defense is
It's
concerned.
critical because they're going to be building a case, the prosecution saying he had all these opportunities to intervene and to do more than he did.
Right.
Well, seeing the shooter earlier than other evidence suggests,
Right.
pretty damning.
Right.
And the defense needs to have that to determine whether it's true, cross-examine on it, compare it to other witness information.
Correct. Correct.
So
Yeah.
what do you think ultimately? And maybe the judge did or didn't do what he was going to do because I had to come on here. I had to kind of shut that down. So neither of us know what he did.
No, and I think,
What do you think would be the right decision?
well, I think he probably excused that jury and is probably thinking about what his decision is going to be. I think, you know, it could be an instance of no harm, no foul, but I would, if I were the judge, make Michel turn over everything and give the defense an opportunity to take a look at it and, you know, maybe give them an extra, I know he doesn't want to delay the trial, but certainly time to look at what that evidence was. And then obviously the witness will get back on the stand and the defense will have an opportunity to, you know, cross-examine on that very issue. And hopefully there'll be some clarity on the matter. And, you know, I don't think the judge is going to say, you know, this is a mistrial.
No, you're right about that.
Yeah.
And it may be, you know, with further review, no real harm from
Correct.
but you got to at least send the message, folks,
Right.
you know, got to be nitpicky here. Sorry, we do have to be nitpicky.
What happens when you're trying cases and you're upholding your duties as a prosecutor, you know, or as a
It was
defense
weird
lawyer?
too during this process. The witness before this official swearing in moment, the witness was being brought into the conversation about when she told them what she told them, and so she had the chance to kind of water down what she had said already.
Yeah.
It was just bizarre.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, again, I'm always thinking about the jury, and they're pissed off. They don't like
Yeah.
that kind of, first of all, 10 minutes to review her statement, and then that 10 minutes becomes 30.
Yeah.
And then when they come back in, it's see you later.
Right. And they could have gone before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, we do want to look up one more thing before I let you go, and I want to put your info out here for everybody to check you out. And you know, you pop up on CNN, on CBS, on Court TV. You're out there with all these important cases. And you know, back when we did Law and Crime, we were like this more often than not. You know, it was like we're never in the same room. So
True.
since we've been post Law and Crime and been out in the field, I think I've seen you more and you know, been able to sit next to you more often.
Yes.
So
Which I like.
that's refreshing.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're a good courtroom mate.
Yeah.
So
lot of
let's
fun.
talk about
Yeah.
let's talk about this Ohio case, which has become really at this point, unless something has happened in the last hour or so, an incredible manhunt. Let me lay the basic, the primer, as I like to call it here. This is a case out of Ohio involving a dentist by the name of Spencer. I think Tepi is the pronunciation. I may be having the wrong accent on the wrong syllable there, but I don't know if it's Tepi or Tepi. But he and his lovely wife, Monique, he was 37, she was 39, found shot to death in their home in Columbus, Ohio. And nobody knows who did it. Nobody knows what's going on. It's got a lot of those similar, you know, let's just say less than helpful facts, like There was no gun found. The door was not, there was no forced entry, right? Heartbreaking part of this story, if it doesn't get bad already, is a 1 and 4-year-old at home when this happened. And for some period of time afterwards. They think it happened. It was December 30th, sometime in the overnight hours between December 30th and December 31st. So how long those kids were there alone, nobody knows. The cops have asked for folks to show some video that they think may be, it's certainly a person of interest. And so I want to do that before we get too far into this. So stand by. Let me rack this up. I gotta get people. I need some people for this. Terri.
Yes.
Gotta get some people.
Technology people.
Yes. It's just a matter of how many hands do I have? I don't have enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is some
You're great.
and we're getting used to, people with the Ring camera footage, right? It's
Right.
we know in the MIT Brown University stuff, it's become almost another level of law enforcement.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me find the one I'm looking for here. It is. It's not that one. Sorry. Okay, here we go. This is again released by the cops who are hoping it helps people recognize this person. I'm telling you, it ain't a lot to go on.
It's not. I was just thinking.
So you have this guy sort of hunched over in the shot. We can see his whole body, got a hoodie on, really bent over there. I don't see any discernible limp, right? You?
I do not either. I mean, they can tell his height, and he's wearing jeans and, a dark jacket. And like you said, a hoodie, I believe. I mean, maybe they can get something from the gait. There is no discernible features as far as his face is concerned. Maybe there are other angles, but it looks like that's all they have so far. So that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. One more time here, just to give folks another look. I've seen all kinds of, comments like, oh, it looks like a 50-year-old man. I don't get that from looking could be, he doesn't look like he's athletic exactly, but I don't know if I could put an age on him from what I'm seeing here.
He seems younger to me than that. And
okay. That's what I would think. I mean, the gait is,
it's a strong gait, and that's snow.
Yes, that's going to affect how you walk. No doubt about that.
And I would put him at, 45 maybe. He looks about 6 feet at least to me. I mean, it is very difficult to tell, but I think he's on the younger side. I don't think he's that much older than that.
So that's what they've got. And I thought, again, just to set the scene for this guy's a dentist. He's with a big dental practice in the town, and he's a professional. And so when he doesn't come to work, it's all hands on deck. Where's Spencer? And even more concerning to them was, well, at least when we can't find him, where's Monique, his wife? And they couldn't find either. So I have here a quick couple of minutes of the routine number of 911 calls, and there were a bunch of them. Again, starting with the family or the business, right? Because they're the first to miss him.
Correct.
So let me bring that up here. Let me see. Let me find the right one. Once again, I'm having my own little Easter egg hunt here. Okay, there we go. Again, this is a series of 911 calls, beginning with his office, his partner, who wasn't even in the office, but was called clearly by those that were and said, hey, Spencer's not here. And then it escalates to those who actually went out to the house and found what they found here. So let's see if I can bring this in.
Check 107.
Yes, I would like to ask for a wellness check on an individual at their home. Well, I'm currently in the state of Florida. I'm on vacation, but this individual, Spencer, works with me, and he did not show up to work this morning, and we cannot get a hold of him or his family.
He didn't show up to work?
Correct.
Okay. Does he have medical problems or?
No, and he's been reliable, and we cannot get in touch with him, his wife, his family, anybody that lives in that house.
Okay. So
There's
you're
2
in
kids in the
Florida.
home. I'm in Florida. I own the business. I was informed by my employees that he was not at work, and he runs the office.
Did you receive information that he may have been involved in an accident or?
No, ma'am. I just know that he is he is always on time, and he would contact us if there was any issues whatsoever. And I just don't know how else to say this. We're very, very concerned because this is very out of character. And we can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing.
Okay. We will send somebody over as soon as we have an officer available, okay?
Now, I've never been a 911 officer. They do the Lord's work, and I'm sure there are times when they feel like all they do all day is put out fake fires, right? But this is a reasonable sounding guy, and he's got clearly a reason to be concerned, and the response is, well, we get somebody, we'll check it out.
I've got to say, I think they do God's work as well. But when I hear the, sort of nonchalant attitude, almost disbelieving attitude, they are trained. They know that something could be a non-issue or it could be a life and death issue. They know they're being recorded. They know that the response is important. And this is just a wellness check. It's not, it's something that she should have just responded saying, okay, no problem. Thank you for calling. We got the address, we got the information. But she acts like when we have a chance and somebody's free, we'll send them over there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, she needs to be trained again. And I'm not saying she should be fired. But to your point, Michael, he had really good information. This was not, just go check on grandma, please, because she didn't answer the phone. This was, he didn't go to work. We can't get the wife. He's never like this. It's concerning to me that we have 911 operators who respond like that. That's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, the nature of their job, emergencies.
Correct.
And so eventually, though, somebody did go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.
Our boss did not report to work. We haven't been able to get a hold of him for 3 hours. We are on site and we can hear.
Okay, I just talked to somebody there.
Okay, I'm just making.
Like, I've already handled this. I mean, I don't think it's the same person, but I guess it was who talked to the boss, right?
You know what? Again, it sounds like it's the same 911 operator, and you never tell anybody, I just talked to somebody, so why are you calling? Because the more people that call, the more validity to the calls that are being made. So for her to even say that again, she needs to be retrained and maybe now fired. But I mean, you've got to take these calls seriously.
And then I take these calls, and I have a class for first responders and 911 operators. Okay, this is what you don't do.
Exactly.
I mean, as if you need to be told that. I mean, anybody with common sense, there has to be some sort of screening process. I don't know if I'd have the right temperament to be a 911 operator. I don't know that, but you better find that out.
Yeah.
Because this is tragic. I think about those kids. How long a 4-year-old can get into trouble. A 1-year-old is helpless.
Michael, also the thing is, how long were they there before the wellness check? I haven't seen anything to give me that timeline. And when, in fact, were the parents shot? So I'm assuming that when we have the autopsy and all of that, we'll get some of that information. But 4 and 1 is very young, and they were literally there. I don't know what they saw. Also, what did they do during that time period between when the parents were killed and when someone came? Just tragic. They will never forget that. Well, maybe they will because they are so young.
Maybe the 4-year-old will have some nightmares for a while.
Well, what a terrible case.
Oh my gosh. This is a good point by Tall Glass. Let me get that out of, how come I can't get that out of the way? Get out of the way, you little note there. Yes, they usually say we're on the way. And that's what, we thank you. We've been notified. We're on the way.
Exactly.
I don't think it's all that tricky. Anyway, okay, we continue.
Sure, somebody called.
So now this is somebody's gone out to the house, right?
Yeah, I just got a call from somebody and sent it back up for dispatch.
Okay.
Are you there? Because you're not showing that you're at the
No,
location.
I'm en route there.
911, what's the location of your emergency? Okay, what's the emergency there, police or medical?
Maybe both, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of doing the
We already
wellness.
had a call out there. They knocked on the front door and back door multiple times, and there was no answer.
Yeah, no answer. I can hear kids inside, and I swear I think I heard one yell, but we can't get in. At this point, I don't know if I need to break the door in or just get in the house or what. So.
Okay, were you out there when the police was out there?
I wasn't. I just got here about 5 minutes ago.
Okay, all right, well, we'll send them back out to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, you have a nice day. I'm telling you, if it were me,
Yeah.
I would broken the door down, broken
Yeah.
the window. I just would have.
Yeah.
You know, if I heard kids in there and he thinks one is yelling, I don't know if that means crying or yelling for help. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'll pay for the door. I'll pay for
That's
the
right.
window.
That's right. Yeah.
But
If
I'm
you
coming
hear
in.
children and no adult comes to the door, the children are there, they are making noise, they may need help. And I would break the door down as well. And even if you confront, an intruder, think about the fact that those kids are in there with at the time, obviously no guidance and no supervision. And
we haven't even mentioned what they may have seen or heard when the parents were killed.
Yeah.
Now, with any luck, it was in the overnight hours, and that suspect that we saw in those grainy video, that was between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., which accounts in part for why it's grainy and shadowy.
Right.
But if it happened anytime after midnight, hopefully the kids were in sleep
Yeah.
and weren't awakened by gunshots.
Correct.
And it's very sketchy so far about what the level of gunfire was, but it sounded like from one of the police reports that Monique was shot in the stomach once, or in the chest area, in the torso once, and that he was shot, quote, multiple times.
Yeah.
Now wait till you hear when we get to the handoff of 911 to paramedics. It doesn't get better in terms of the way they handle it on the phone. So anyway, again, now we've got someone else on the way, but not before we get another call.
We've got several calls on that. What's changed since the last person I talked to?
There's a body. There's a body.
There's a body inside?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me get you on the line with the medic, okay? Stay on the line.
All right. I mean, that's what's going on there. There's a body. Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just took a run of ship. We just came here, and he appears dead. Okay. There's blood. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, and there's blood. I can't get closer to see more than that.
Okay, so you can tell he's obviously not breathing or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it like kind of like puddle, like, does he look like?
It doesn't. It's puddled. I can't lie.
Okay, now what he's asked for here, and it's very low. I bumped it up as best I could. He said, "Is the blood puddled?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then the caller said, "Well, yeah, it is puddled. I'm not going to get any closer. I don't want to see it."
Right.
To me, I don't know if I've heard that there's a body on the ground and there's blood. We're on the way. We're scrambling. Do I have to ask the caller if there's puddled blood? Is
That's
that
right.
somehow helping?
Right.
I don't understand. And, putting the guy through this trauma anyway. Was his head severed? I mean, what kinds of questions are those?
Well, and not only that, you have to think about the fact you don't want that scene to be disturbed, and you really should not be asking him.
That's a great point. You're almost encouraging him to contaminate the crime scene.
Correct.
So another
Clearly,
bonehead move.
Exactly. The body's not moving. He's either dead or, not going to be there for a long time as far as survival is concerned, because he already told him, the friend already said, I think he's dead, and what more do you need?
That you should be scrambling at that point. So all these other little details, I don't think are appropriate at that time. I've got an update here on some details from Sherry D. 3 9mm shell casings found.
Yes.
Okay.
I did see that as
Did
well.
you see that
there
in a
were
note?
3 spent 9mm cartridges is what I
Okay.
got, but I guess that's the same as a shell casing. Thank you
Oh,
for that update.
yeah, appreciate that. And I've got my little bar in front of it, so I can't read it as well as I should be able to. But
Yeah.
it's
But
good
other
info.
than that, that's all they have, which I think is interesting because from a forensic standpoint, you need as much as you can get. Obviously, they'll fingerprint. This is going to be one of those very difficult cases. They're going to have to really do some sort of forensics on the victims as well because they have so little as far as the perpetrator is concerned. They have those cartridges, which is good. They can try to figure out what was the gun, where was it bought, et cetera, where were the cartridges bought. But they're going to really have to look at the victims, Spencer and Monique. What was their life like? Where were they before that? Who would have some motive to kill them? I mean, it seems like it was targeted. I know that one of the things the police is looking into is was this random or was it targeted? It seems very targeted to me for them to get into the house and to shoot Spencer multiple times and to shoot his wife as well. I mean, it's just one of those situations where if it were random, now it could be, but
it could be they just picked their house, and but I don't think there's any evidence of anything being stolen. But again, it's early. These houses, I do have a picture that may help as we look at what factors would lead to this happening, and maybe it was a mistake, right? Maybe it was this was not the house that they. Oh wait, let me finish. Let's do this before I get ahead of myself. Let's finish the 911 call. There's not much left here.
Okay. All right. I understand. Okay. And then when was the last time somebody spoke to him?
Yesterday, I suppose.
Yesterday. Okay. Yeah. How old is he?
37.
37. Okay. Is he like a drug user or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right. Just because that's a really young age.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. All right. We're on our way.
Yeah, thanks. Again, all these extra questions, if they delayed you leaving at all for a minute, we've got problems with the
I
house
agree.
as well.
I agree.
So here's the house. Okay, it was kind of, from what I understand, they were married at this house about almost 5 years ago. They were coming up on their 5-year anniversary. And this is an area that is arguably adjacent to an area that has been revitalized.
Right.
So they had issues there. There was apparently a park down the street that had some, nefarious activity or was known for that. So there is a possibility, I guess, of somebody, maybe following them home or targeting them, thinking, hey, these folks in these new houses, maybe they've got money. I guess that's possible. We have a second photo here that just gives you a broader look of let me bring this up here, of the neighborhood, just to give you a sense of, obviously, whoever went in and do this construction and kind of revitalized had an idea, a style idea. So theirs is the one in the middle. But it could have been as simple as they got the wrong house because they all do have kind of a similar look. So all kinds of questions, far too many questions than answers at this point.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
But we wanted to do our little part to get that out there, get that video out there, make folks aware of it. Tragic story. Hopefully the kids are going to be okay. And I don't know enough about grandparents, etc. Who's going to have to step in now, but it is a tragic story still unfolding. So
it truly is very tragic. You said that correctly, and I think about the kids, and I do think that law enforcement is going to try to get a little more information. Maybe from the 4-year-old, like you said, maybe the 4-year-old was sleeping, but they better get that now if they can. And there's very little a 4-year-old can do or say. Even if the child had been just a little bit older, maybe 5 or 6, if they heard something or saw something. But the other thing is, where were they when obviously they could have been asleep when the intrusion occurred, but afterwards, when the bodies were found, were the kids just walking around in their room? Were they in their parents' room?
Yeah. Well, I have these visions from other stories. That's what happens when you cover so many of these stories. These callbacks are not good, where the child is found, near the body, the bloody body, and it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yes.
Oh, this is good information from Mara J 17. Monica's brother has the children. So.
Okay.
Somebody close to the family. That's nice.
Family. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and this is the if you've seen on social media, the name of the brother is on those pictures. I can't remember it offhand, but he was there at the wedding. Yeah, and the last name was kind of unique.
I think it's Misla.
Yes, something unique. Yeah,
Misla, something like that.
So he's obviously very close to the family.
Yeah,
and that is good.
Yeah, very difficult case. I hope it's resolved quickly. You know, you don't want this to be one of those cold cases. And I also think even though law enforcement didn't make any sort of announcements to, you know, alert the community, that because it's so unknown as to whether or not this was random or targeted, I do think that people should be a little more careful in case it is random. And, you know, I don't think there should be any sort of curfew or anything to that effect, but I do think if I lived in that neighborhood and all of the homes look very similar and, you know, I heard about this case, I would want to be a little more careful than normal. And, you know, to what extent does the police have to warn the community with something like this? I think everybody's heard about this case now, but, you know, I probably would err on the side of caution and tell people, look, we don't know what happened here. And I did see one of the police officers say, I don't know if it was targeted or random, but I might have added, if I were law enforcement, because we don't know that, please, you know, be a bit more cautious and on alert as you move around the community.
Yeah, and it's normally part of, I mean, they've not said a lot. And normally it's part of the spiel, which is we have suspect in custody, we have 2 or 3 persons of interest, the community is not in danger. But in this case, we've heard nothing. So to your point, you kind of want to be more careful about it and assume that there is the possibility of danger.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, obviously, we'll keep on this, as we will the Uvalde case as it continues to unfold. Terri, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. So keep us posted on where you're going to show up next. I might bump into you in the next court here. You think the hearing Friday is a nothing hearing?
I think it's a nothing, but I'm actually looking to see if I can find more detail about what exactly is going to occur. So far, it's just another hearing date, but we don't know specifically what the substance is going to be. So if I do, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. Before you go, A or B? A or B?
A.
A. What is your favorite ice cream?
Vanilla chocolate chip. Is that such a thing? You know, just plain,
just like
vanilla.
Standard chocolate chip. Okay,
Yeah,
so
chocolate chip.
vanilla
I
ice
guess
cream
it's called
with chocolate chip.
Not chocolate chip, not strawberry chocolate. You know,
okay, not mint chocolate chip.
No,
just vanilla chocolate chip.
Just chocolate chip. Why do you gonna next time
I got nothing. I got nothing for you. Just curiosity.
Well, at least
you know.
You now your viewers know if you see me and it's summertime. Not right now. It's too cold. But if they want to find me, I am on Instagram at Terri D Austin. That's with an I, Terri D Austin.
Yeah. Did we have your info up here? Let's see. Do we have that? Is that right? We got that correct?
Oh gosh,
is that your website? Is that your website?
And I have a website.
There we go. There we go. There's the Instagram. Missy is all over it. Okay, cool. Yes, that's the least. That's the least I can do, and I always do the least I can.
If I'm not getting ice cream, I might as well just promote my Instagram and.
There should be, isn't there one of those funding sites? It's called Buy Me a Cup of Coffee, something like that. There should be Buy Me an Ice Cream.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would go for that one. All right, Terri. Thank you so much. We will see you next time. Okay, take care.
Next time. Thank you. Bye.
All right, folks, let me move this over here and then do this and then move this and then move this over here. And what did I do with that? Oh, Missy put that up. Hey, so tomorrow we do have the document I was hoping to go over in our members only. So we'll do that at 2:00. I haven't even seen it yet. If I get a chance to see it tonight, I will look it over, but maybe we'll just dive into it first time for everybody. And it is the document filed by Mark Betterow in the Aiden Carney case to be heard at the end of this month in Baden. And it is this is very unusual. You got a motion and a response. Sometimes you get a reply. Not always. This has a motion, response, reply, and now sir reply. And the court even made it clear when they last met, let's kind of tone that down. I guarantee you Cosgrove will have a sir response to the sir reply. but we'll get into the sir reply tomorrow and hopefully have Mark on next week as we prep for that hearing, which should be a doozy. Yeah. Anyway, Michael Bryant here, back tomorrow with Ms. Demeanor. Ms. Demeanor will be on tomorrow night with us, and we'll be covering probably Uvalde, whatever else may come to light during the course of the day. In the meantime, 2 o'clock tomorrow, members only. We'll do that. Have yourself a great evening. Linda Kinney Baden. She just sent me a picture. Let me see if I can. I don't have time to upload it, but I can maybe just show you on my phone here. Stand by just a moment. She's obviously still up there working hard in Harvard. See her there? There she is. I don't know who that is with her. If I find out, I'll let you know. I may have just outed her. Anyway, have yourself a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to try to do the right thing.
Riding flames, they charge with mine.